Kulu washarabu wala tusrifu innahu la yuhibbul musrifin. Eat and drink, but don't be wasteful, because God doesn't love wasteful ones, the extravagant ones. In the 7 deadly sins, the great sins of St. Gregory, the Pope of the Catholics, in his 7 deadly sins, luxuria in Latin is one of them. The sin of luxury, which is translated into lust. But this love of luxury, this desire that we get more and more and more. When is enough enough? Because it's never enough if that's your pursuit. You'll never be satisfied. The human soul will never be satisfied. It'll never be enough. But the great sin of our time, in my estimation, especially amongst the young people, many of them right now are on their cell phones, I can see. The great sin of our time is distractibility. This is called acedia in the 7 deadly sins. The sin of acedia was the sin of distractibility. The great desert monks called it the noonday devil. And they said that its quality was always to be, the monk, instead of meditating, he'd go look to the window to see if anybody was passing by. He'd listen to see if anybody was in the corridors. Like people now check their cell phone to see if they got an email or a text or a WhatsApp. That people now are losing the ability just to sit and be patient and think deeply about things. Boredom is very important. The quality of actually being bored is very important. Malal. It's very important because this is what gives us creativity. It's the ability to just think about things. But now everybody has these machines, so they're never bored anymore. They never are left to their own devices to think of something. One of the most intriguing ayahs in the Quran for me is that God said He didn't create this as entertainment. And He said, and if He was going to entertain Himself, He would do it from within Himself. In other words, He wouldn't create us like a television show to watch. If He was going to entertain Himself, He would do it from Himself. And this is what creative people do. They don't need to seek an outside of themselves. They're creative in their own right. And this is more than any other time in human history. We need creativity because we are confronted with problems that have never confronted the human species. We have the problem for the first time in our human history, we have the ability to destroy ourselves. When the nuclear bomb was unleashed and the Japanese people, who are in a sense your neighbors in Asia, the Japanese people felt the brunt of 2 nuclear bombs. And they still have people alive that have the effects of those bombs. They are the most vociferous people against the proliferation of nuclear bombs because they know the meaning of it. They know what it means. When the bomb was unleashed on this world, and the Americans did it, when the bomb was unleashed, Einstein said, the world has changed, but we have not changed. We must think anew. And this is one of the arguments of Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayyah about Islam, that we cannot contextualize Islam in the 7th century. Our Prophet ﷺ lived in the 7th century, but we live in the 15th century according to our Hijrah date, and in the 21st century according to the Common Era, or in the year Anno Domino, according to the Christians. This is a different time. It's a different place. The principles we believe are valid because the Prophet ﷺ gave universal principles, but the particulars are not always valid because many of the particulars were that time and that place. So the idea now of jihad, at-talab, many Muslims still believe in this idea of preemptive jihad, that you have an offensive jihad. Shaykh Abdullah bin Bayyah said that in the early period of Islam, this was a khilaf. It was an issue of difference of opinion. Some of the ulama said no, like Ibn Taymiyyah said, all jihad is defensive. There is no offensive jihad. That was the opinion of Ibn Taymiyyah. Some of the ulama said no, like the Malikis, the school I studied, the madhab I studied said, jihad wajibun marratain fi sana, that you have to fight jihad twice a year.